Hi, this is Tom at Chap. Today we're going to talk about backstage tours for theaters. If you've been watching this series, we've talked about open houses and how you orchestrate that and have a sort of a casual open house. A backstage tour is a lot more formal. It would have a script that you teach your people, and you need the best people, like I've always said, talkbacks, epilogues, prologues. You need your best people. You need the ones that can handle any question because they're going to come with questions. A backstage tour for any theater, I think, is essential to get to know your audience better, to let them see what you do, to let them in on the magic. Now, we know they've seen the lobby, they've seen the audience. Take them onto the stage. Take them onto the stage and answer questions like, hey, why did that set designer, put up so many props? That's way too many props for one background, right? There must be a reason. So maybe your person doesn't know the whole reason, but they can get a little bit, 2 or 3 sentences into the design process. This couple is very rich. This couple likes brass animals. This couple likes brass candlesticks, and on down the line. We need brass candlesticks for 2 scenes in the play, so they have to be right there next to the lamp when the power goes out. The reason for backstage tours is multiple, and most people don't want to give them, which I think is strange. All theaters should do this, no matter what your size. Now, obviously, if you're an opera or a massive theater or a repertory theater with 3 theaters on one campus, there's a lot of places to go that they haven't seen, and they're all very interesting. But the small theaters tend to say, no backstage tours, what are we going to show? Take them onto the stage, answer their questions about the stage, take them backstage, show them how small backstage is. As they're standing there, say, hey, there's 12 of you on this tour, that's great. What if there's 12 actors and they all have to change right here where you're standing all at the same time into new costumes? Because, as we're about to see, the dressing rooms are far away, and they take them to the dressing rooms. Some small theaters, they don't have their costume shops or their building shops for scenery very close by. They're built in another location, or they rent costumes. There's always things you can do. Oh, we're walking down the hall. Here's Janine sewing on some buttons from last night's performance, and she's got a bunch of costumes in front of her on hangers ready to show you. They know it's fake. They know it's a setup for them. But can then ask Janine some questions about the costumes and what she knows, that kind of thing. Again, just a dresser in a hallway, stitching up costumes with a bunch of others on display. It's fun. The small theaters have a lot to offer. They have a lot to say. And they kind of don't care, the audience, what your backstage is. They just want to see how everything is put together. There's lots of things you can do. There's lots of things you can explain. There's lots of things you can explain in those backstage areas, which may not have much to do with backstage. Here's what we do. Here's what we this. Here's what we that. You are on stage and you see a war. And there's 12 different men of various sizes and shapes fighting in the war. But then you don't see those men till later. Well, in that war, 4 of those men were women. And they have to come back here to dress in their female giant 16th century clothes after the fight. They didn't think about this, but when they're backstage, they could be like, dressing rooms, tiny, lots of clothes. Didn't know there were only that many people didn't know there were only that many people in the cast. Things they don't think about. Massive amounts of things. Now, how you do your backstage tour as far as a map, the way you sort of construct your little labyrinth of rooms, that's up to you. But it has to be interesting. And the more popular you get, the more people on the tours you have. So if it's 5 to 6 people, that's manageable. If it's 12 people in your group, that's manageable. When it becomes over 12, it becomes a little not manageable. Maybe you should top out at 20 per group. And then you have a massive group of 60, but you have 3 tour guides that are all circumnavigating in different places. One starts backstage left. One starts in a dressing room. The other one starts in a green room. and they switch places every 15 minutes with their group to cover everything. And you have to coordinate that. It needs a script, it needs smart people, it needs things that you find interesting yourself. A lot of these places, very old places, for instance, when I'm in the UK, I find the ones that are the most historical buildings. The Lyceum in Edinburgh is a very old building, beautifully done, very old Victorian building. The Opera in London in Covent Garden is a very old building. I like to hear the history of the building in my tour as we're walking. Maybe you're a new building in a certain country where it's just not that interesting. We were built in the 80s. That's about it. Well, then what's the history of your group that's there? This is a husband and wife team with their friends from college that all came together in their 40s to start a theater. It's going very well. Here's what we have in mind to do. Here's what we want to present. We want to present musicals, light opera, pantos, or we're here just to present classical plays, or we're here to present only new playwrights. Why do you have your own history? And again, move on from each topic. Leave them wanting more in these backstage tours. Maybe it's an hour. You can't spend a half an hour on your version of history. It has to be your history, where we are now, what's on the stage, what are the next shows coming up, what are the shows we've done in the past, who are the returning actors. Whatever you find interesting, and they will find interesting. But a lot of things you have to explain. Here's why we cast that way. Here's why in the war scene, half of them are women dressed as men. We didn't have enough male people. Once the war is over in the show, there's only 6 male parts. There's not 12. So there we had to divide it up. Very important. This will be a longer series, Backstage Tours. Pardon me. But I wanted to get it started so you can start thinking about it. We'll talk about different size theaters, different size operas, different size shows, and what you can say in your backstage tour. All right. Come back for more. Like and subscribe. Share with a friend. All right. Thanks.